Welcome everyone at the Circus Talks. We're very happy that you are here. And we are organizing the Circus Talk because we'd like to put circus and juggling in a broader perspective. So this week we'll be exploring different themes and we have invited different speakers. The reason why we're doing this is because we want to learn from each other, share ideas and experience, and get inspired. And today's theme is circus and juggling, and we will. Circus and juggling and history. Sorry. So it's circus and history, and together with Jurgen Maas, who's sitting here on the couch, and Sonja Broeckman, we'll be exploring the theme of history and how it has transformed throughout time. There are a few practical things. We are recording the session, and as you might have seen, there are lots of cards on the tables where you can write notes and write down your takeaways. So we would like to start with Jurgen Maas, and he will bring us back to the beginning of the 20th century, when the power relations within circus and the role of circus in mainstream society were very different from as we know them today. So I'd like to invite him to the stage. Mm-hmm.
My name is Jurgen Maas, and I would like to talk to you about the social aspects in and outside juggling, and how they evolved over the past century. Now, the reason for my specific interest in early 1900s century is because I have another eccentric hobby, which is live action role play. And this is a form of interactive theater where you have to build a character to take place in this whole interactive story, often over multiple days. So a friend of mine invited me once to this one LARP, which was set in the 1920s. It was called Cirque Noir. And I said, on one condition, if I can play the juggler, will I join that event? So I started doing research to really get into character, and really started focusing on how the social dynamics of that time would be in and outside circus. So circus back then was often filled with very harsh working conditions, and power dynamics that would often lead to the exploitation of workers. The workers, the builders, they would have the lowest wage. But on the other hand, whenever there was a circus in town, the entire town would be invited to join the circus, and shops would have to close. People would really stop their work to really go into the circus, because whenever a circus joined a town, it was such a massive event that everybody would took off from work and really join that one circus. So within the circus, and this is the real interesting part that I found, is that you had specific groups of people, for instance, and they were all separated. For instance, the performers of the circus, they would only socialize with each other, and they would definitely not join dinner with musicians. On the other hand, you had the workers. They would often sleep in the same area with bunk beds, often packed inside those shipping carts that they had, because they were just the workers, quote unquote, just the workers. The third group that I find really fascinating is people that were different from regular people. So feminine presenting men and masculine presenting females, they would often be presented as a cabinet piece, and they would often be joined by albino people or other people of color, but also Siamese twins, and they would be made a spectacle of. And because of that, they would often be sort of frowned upon because they didn't have the same skill set as the performers would have. And therefore they would be the outcasts of that circus. Over the past 100 years, circus has really evolved and it has become more professional. Also the working conditions have improved. In addition, due to the rise of amateur circuses, the circus acts themselves have really evolved with a combination of circus and, for instance, dance or ballet or contemporary art. We have seen that there was a rise in the amount of circus schools, and circus in that case has progressed into something that is more professional and that has become more professional over the years. And now you see these beautiful circus tents at the EJC site with technique, with sound, with light, that has really put the circus that we see today also in theaters with way more professionalism than it used to be. And in my opinion, that is making circus today as a real proper contender to, for instance, musicals and movies and theater plays. So that being said, I think that circus these days also has a very big social role. People are joining circus, people are doing circus nowadays just for fun, just for entertainment, but also to socialize and to find like-minded people. And in that part, I find it also very interesting to draw a parallel with queerness in modern society. You've seen over the past 100 years that both circus and queerness, there was a search for acceptance. It has progressed over the past 100 years, but in both cases there is still some steps to take. I mean, the need to belong really draws people together. And as a final takeaway for my talk, I am very interested in what the motivation was for people to join the circus back in the day, and also what the motivation is for people performing circus and joining circus today. So if you're up for a little audience participation, please raise your hand if you have anything to share with regards to what your reason is for joining the circus, coming to this EJC, and what you find, what you are trying to find in this whole setting.
So I like circus because there's no right or wrong, like in gymnastics or so. I mean, it hurts or it doesn't hurt. It looks pretty, it fits the number, it's good for your body, it's bad for your body. It works, but there's no right or wrong.
Very nice. Another question there? Or another?
I like circus because I want to express myself and find ways by combining different disciplines to be able to express myself in many different ways.
I go on every Christmas with my family in a circus in Germany, and it's absolutely wonderful every time. And when I come to the EJC, it's my first, my head is absolutely full. You and me, we EJC!
Yeah. Yeah, I really like that there's no rules in circus, as you said. Just people, like, you have the best jugglers in the world, they're really good in technique, and then they just spend hours doing a weird, silly trick, and I'm like, it's like the total opposite of the Olympic athletes, I think, every time.
I love circus because it's, for me, it's the expression of curiosity, in the sense of, in a similar sense to there's no right or wrong, but circus fundamentally often in shows looks for surprise, undermining expectations, doing something different, even if it's just a minor thing where people go like, huh, I didn't think of it this way. And that really just increases creativity and lowers the thresholds, lowers the barriers for entry. And the other thing that is really important to me is it's one of the few art forms that we don't need language for. We can use language, but it's a very, very porous art form. We can use music, we can use dance, we can use theater, we can use all the other all the other art forms. And so it's kind of it's a melting pot for everything else, and that's what makes it so diverse, so interesting, and a thing that crosses borders and boundaries.
What I like a lot is that age does not play any role. So the usual teacher-pupil thing is over, because just the lower level learns from the higher level. I like that much.
Well, personally, I've used circus as rehabilitation as well. I used to have addiction issues, and I found my community within the circus world. And rehabilitation, mind and body, and all the skills of circus can intersect with something else. And circus also is a form of resistance. If anyone's seen Bug's Life, the circus comes and helps take over the tyrants, and at the moment circus has been used in Gaza to deal with the genocide and the starvation of the IDF army. And it's quite disappointing that here at EJC there's been a lot of Zionism issues, and there's been a workshop posted about it as well. It's very insensitive during times of genocide. And yeah, it's amazing to watch people, well, it's not really amazing, it's awful to watch people being starved. But seeing the resilience that people are using circus as a way to survive during genocide.
So the takeaway message from your point is that circus can be used to adjust and to really find an outlet during difficult times. Thank you so much for your answer.
Yeah.
Is there anyone else? I saw someone there.
Alright, so I like circus because it's a tool for me to just figure out what my body is capable of doing, because, I just get to stop moving and doing what I love, right? So, I think it's a great tool for self-knowledge and so for self-development, right?
Thank you so much for your input.
Yeah, and thank you so much, Jurgen, and for all your wonderful words. We will now move on to Sonja. Sonja has been archiving the EJC for more than 20 years. That's something that she will talk about, and as well as juggling history. And she will also end with some questions about the future. So give it up for Sonja.
Yeah, hi, I'm Sonja. I'm a teacher for history, art and circus, and have been to about 30 European Juggling Conventions, and I've been to more than 300 juggling conventions all over the world. So I do since 20 years the archive. I'm since 95 involved in the European Juggling Association. So I will talk a lot about the history of juggling, but not so much, if you do the next one. We do not have that much time to talk about all the history, because that will take much longer. So I have more about the view on aspects like how we handle with the history. So I will show a bit of the history, but just only a bit, not going deep to that. And how we get the knowledge about the history, and where are gaps in the history, and hopefully what we can do to improve our knowledge about the history, because there are so many people around, so many people know what's about a part, but it seems there are a lot of people knowing this and this, but we not really get it together. So I will talk about that. If you want to know more about history, get deeper, I'm doing today a guided tour to the exhibition. It's at 5 o'clock, today in English and tomorrow in German. For me, it's not my best task to talk English, so I'm sometimes not very using the real clear word. So if there are misunderstandings, so please ask me, because the talk is for you. And if you do not understand me, or if I should explain it in a different way, please say that, because it doesn't make sense if I stand here and you go, what was saying. I know you should make small papers, but I didn't have the time. Oh, good, thanks. We have the next one. So often the question is, when juggling start? We do not have one place where we can say, oh, this was the beginning. What we can say is that we have juggling all over the world. Like, this is from America, this is from Europe, no, this is from Africa, this is from Europe, and this is from Asia. So we know juggling, it's in a lot of areas in all over the world, but we cannot say who invented it. Sometimes you read in the books, the people juggle in the Stone Age. Maybe. We don't know it. We do not have a proof for that. It maybe happens because you have stones, you have fruits, you can juggle with it, people play, but there's no proof. The first proof is in Egypt. You maybe know that. Sometimes you know a picture with 4 jugglers on it, but that's a picture which were painted wrong side in the 60s, and someone added a ball to that. So I can explain it more in the exhibition, but there are 2 paintings. It's very small here. So there are 3 females who are juggling balls. And there's also a word, which may be the word for juggling. We don't know it because it's just on one grave here where we have this picture. But so we can say, at least, we have since 4,000 years the juggling. Also in the Greek time, we have a lot of paintings with only females, no males. And we have also written stuff at that time. Then we have for the Roman time, that's a grave seal. So we have at that time mans. And they often said, oh, I was the best juggler of the world. I was juggling 7 balls or more. And that's standing on their graves. So when they died, that was the best part. Sometimes you read stuff like, he was the best, but we are not sure if he really was the best, because it seems a lot of people are the best. Sometimes we have a problem with the historical sources, because I don't know how many people know Latin. I had to learn it because I study history, but my Latin was not that good. But I was very happy because I had a friend, she was very good in Latin. So sometimes you read, at the Roman time, they had glass balls and juggle with it. But if you go to the Latin original one, it stands there's 1 glass ball, not more. But that's why we have to know the knowledge about Latin to understand, and not what about 100 people have already written, and then you see, oh, it wasn't that book. But often people write what other people have written. So they just don't go deep what it really was. So they just look what someone else was written. So we have a lot of mistakes about that, about the juggling history. So maybe we go on, because we don't have so much time. Thanks. So if you learn, and the first day in history is, you always look who was the writer, when did he write it, why did he write it, what could he know at the time when he was writing that, and what did he wrote, what was his purpose on that. So if you read an article or something, people want to say, oh, I'm the best, I'm doing the best show, but that's often not true, because you want to have something that you want that the people believe. So you always have to look very close to that, what the people wrote. And so it seems a lot of people just believe what is standing there. Oh, it's old, it's a few hundred years old. It must be good or true, but it's not, because at that time, the same than today, you read a lot of interesting stuff what I wouldn't believe. So at that time was the same. So you have really to look at the stuff what you have. So sometimes it's when I look at stuff and then, oh, really, I'm happy, I find something about juggling. Is it really about juggling? Like, we found a lot of balls. They are more than 2,000 years old, mostly from Egypt, because there was the sand, which doesn't make that, like this leather ball doesn't go away. But we do not know if they really were used for juggling. We know that they have balls at the time, but we cannot see from that stuff. So we do not have an evidence if they were used for juggling. We know they also use fruits and nuts, because we know that from the wall, from the paintings, and from the Greek time. Also, like here, that's a painting from Egypt, like 4,000 years old. But is it juggling, or is it just a ball game? That's a play which you play in the Roman time. It's a play where 3 people play together, and it's a bit like combat. You play the ball to each other, and you should not catch it. And then you win when when the other one drops the ball. So that was a game. You maybe ask, why is the 4th people that's a slave? Because he had to pick up the balls. We don't have it anymore. Yeah. So you can look also to picture, but you must have a good knowledge to understand what is shown. Like when there is a share on it, it always means that something what's happened in the house. And you see a lot of women, there's early women with juggling balls at that time, and they were all or most of them are in the house. And it seems a lot of people juggled at that time, because when you see how they juggle, it seems a pattern what is possible to juggle. This is interesting because there's a drop painted. If you compare it with today, where we have also stuff, there's a juggler. It's not possible to juggle like that. And I don't understand it, why we have now the knowledge, know how to juggle it, but it seems the people who do it are not that connected to jugglers, so it seems maybe there was more juggler at that time. This is interesting, like here, there's someone giving money to the female. I do not want to go deep to it, but it shows you have to have a lot of knowledge about reading what is painting, because otherwise it will be a misunderstanding. Yeah? So you just look at the female, oh, she's juggling, but you do not know why is he giving money to him. But you have to know it. And that's often that we need special knowledge about all the time and how to read it, to understand it in the right way. And otherwise we have interesting things. Like the Middle Age, we have a lot of pages, but like from the Roman time there is a systematic way where people get to all the stuff what we have, but we don't have it at the Middle Age. there are a lot of bibliotheks where still a lot of books in, where we do not know if there are more jugglers in that, because it's not systematically worked through that, because it's too many books at a time, and they are usually in the cloister, monasteries, so they are often closed, so you're not able to do that and take a long time. So we know the picture, but mostly we don't know what's standing on it, because someone finding this picture said, oh, great, a juggler, but what's on the text? We don't know that. So that's another gap what we have. So it would be good to know that more. The thing is about the Middle Age. There was not many people writing, only in the monastery. So we do not have anything about what a juggler had written. Also, we do not have one word for juggler. It was a word for playing mans, not for juggler. So also when it's written, we do not actually know, was he a juggler or was he something else, a musician? Because usually a juggler was doing everything. So we have, at that time, early stuff what someone wrote about a juggler. And if you think about what a non-juggler would write about you when you're going to a festival, he would probably write some interesting things about you are going 4,000 people, you are sleeping in the floor, you are using the toilet with 4,000 other people and eating on the floor. He would write interesting. So we have the same problem with the Middle Age, because it's just written over, not by them. That's a bit a problem. So maybe you have the next picture. So I said already we have no word for that. But we have the interesting thing, we have also juggler in the monastery. And this shows how the right was very less, that was not equal rights to people who traveling around. They had very low rights. I will explain somewhere else what it is. So when we have the next page, I hurry a bit. You see, this is picture where you see the juggler look really similar. You look at the feet, how they stand, and that's picture about few hundred years. So about this and this, there are about 400 years between. But you see, that's still nearly the same position, same clothes, same where the juggling profs are. So it seems they all use this. This is the oldest which I found. It's King David. So it was like in a Bible. And then they used this and painted that from that, and like was artificial intelligence is using right now. So he copy paste, yes. The people traveled around. They were juggling, doing musician stuff. So there was two sides of them. One, there was very, the people were happy when they came because they brought news, they showed entertainment. And on the other side, there were foreigners. They didn't know, they're not accepted. The situation didn't change with the French Revolution, where it was a change for the other people, where they said, the noble people are now the same than the normal people, but it was not for the travelers. They're still below that. Go? Yeah. Then the circus came up. I do not tell much about circus. We had a bit more because there's so much to tell about the circus history. We said Philip Astley was about 250 years ago the founder, but there are also other people who did also circus stuff at that time. But it's but he is maybe he was one who did very good publicity work, and so that's one. And we have the variety at that time, or a bit later. So there was a place where juggler could perform. So we can have the next one. So the juggler could start to be only a juggler. Before that, he has to be an actor or a singer in juggling. So because juggling was not only being a juggler. So he has to be some more. And now he can be a juggler. And so we have special like comedy, or what you also see is that, So a big diversity. So some showed also what is what was at the time popular. Like here you see that's a female who is catching cannonballs, very heavy ones. So we have also that some people died with this trick, but it was very popular because it was a time where it was good to have a strong military, said like today. So it was popular to show that on the stage. Also, we have more, like today, we have balls, clubs, rings, devil stick, diabolo, but 4,000 people, but nearly, it doesn't seem a big variety. But here, jugglers build their props often and thought about different things and find more things what early they did. So that's more what we have at that time. So yesterday was a talk about props, and someone said, he's trying to make props more to the size of the people. Like I have the problem when I when I juggle 5 clubs, to hold 3 clubs, because my hands are so small that I cannot go around. So I climb them more. And so he said it's good to make props for your size of your body. And that's what at that time everybody make their own props. At 1900 it started, there were prop seller, but there was more single, not like today. There are about 1,000 of the same clubs. That was a big difference. Yeah. So also people like to copy, or like the emperors. When the European got over to the Asian country and African, so they copy and open and get the knowledge from Asia. So at that time, a lot of Asian people came to Europe, but not as much as the people wanted to see. So like he is Rappo, he is a German, he copied the Indian style, so that the people believe, he's an Indian, he's doing that stuff because that was popular at that time. So we can go to the next. There's the Diabolo. That's what we know when it came. It came through England. No, there was an English imperialism. So there was English people in China, and at that time someone from China came and brought the Diabolo to Europe, and it got very, very popular. Not so much as an artistic, but more like what all kids, adults were playing. And it was also like a game, and it was a bit like tennis, and it was really the same popular than tennis. But then there came some laws which said it's not anymore allowed to play Diabolo in the public because there was some people hidden by Diabolo, so it must be really popular. I have a collection by my home. I have more than 100 postcards. There are more than 100 years old, only about juggling, because it was that popular that it was all over. Was a question?
About the Chinese, so was it already a toy in China for juggling, or was it
no, in China it was people using it when they were going from house to selling stuff, and the China one is making noise. So then the people know, there's someone coming and they're selling stuff. So and in China they have it already since 2,000 years. So it's an old.
not as a play toy?
No, it was used. And then when it came here, someone invented new forms of the Diabolos. It is this one. So it's a smaller and with plastic around so it doesn't break so much. So then it came very popular. A bit like the hula hop when it was invented. It's also like a name for that, and that was the Diablo as same. Yeah. Okay. So we go on. I didn't talk so much about people because it's hard. Like, this is Vasily. A lot of people know him. But who's a famous juggler? We had yesterday the World Juggling Federation. Oh, now we know who is the best. Do we know? Is that the best? Or is it who is winning the game on Thursday? We don't know. Or is it only the people who can afford to go to the competition because they have the money? If there's some other people who are more better, so that's always a question: who is the best juggler? And
how do you look? It's when you like it, it's for you perfect, but he say no, it's not for me perfect. Then he's searching other. For him it's perfect. It's art.
At art, but in art you can have also one who is a famous one. But it's also a question of marketing. Who is, like, if you're asking today, the KI, I did it, and I bit change the word, what I'm looking, and I get already a different list, who's the best. Yeah? So,
for me, it's when I play guitar, you sit to me and say, oh, it's wonderful, and she say, oh my God, I go away.
Yeah.
So for you, it's perfect, for she not.
Yeah. I'm totally with you. So, yeah, that's why I have a problem with all the lists. There are different lists in the NES which say who's the best famous juggler, who is the best, who gets the most marks. Some people like it, but I believe it's not. We cannot say that because we have different meaning what juggling could be. Or okay. Now I will change a bit to the European Juggling Convention. Yeah. And I will start with a question. What is the value for you to the European Juggling Convention?
It makes me feel happy for a lot of the rest of the year.
Yeah.
Last year I was in Ova and I just found it amazing. I'm not a European, but I found it amazing that there were like 15 languages all around me and cooperating and having so much fun. I thought this is paradise, so I came back.
I think the exchange is the most valuable. People teach each other their best new tricks.
Yeah.
And next year they come back and that trick is developed in something even better.
I think I'm not talking about money itself, but it's amazing that everyone is helping each other and the price is so low. Like we make the festival by ourselves. It's a precious culture, I guess.
But you say the standard has improved. So I have a question for you, Sonja. How do you perceive that the standard of juggling has improved in your time here? Because I perceive that the technical standard has got amazingly better over the last 30 years.
Yeah, I think it's about connected with internet, because some guys started watching internet and they don't know how hard the tricks are. So they see a lot of people doing the tricks and then they do it. Also, when I started, I had a book for learning, and it was a book for balls. So my first trick doing with clubs was a backboard cascade. What is a stupid hard trick with clubs? But in the book was saying, that's an easy trick, you can start with it. And yeah, and I said, oh, I'm really stupid. And then on the first day, I meet other people that said, oh, it's an interesting trick. I learned the Mills Mass with clubs very fast, but then they said, oh, under the knees, it's much easier. So you need people to meet, but the internet helps a lot. Like, past ago, we had like Daumenkinos, like some kinos. So you could look and stop because you wanted to see how is the next step with the trick. Now you stop at the video and look how it goes. And the technical helps with learning. And I'm not sure if it's so connected to the festivals. It is connected that you can meet other people, but the internet helps a lot. Yeah.
So your question was, why do I come to the EJC or do stuff for the EJC as well? And I think it's very connected to what I said earlier about juggling. It's about juggling and circus arts in general are physical art forms that we can share beyond language. And I think your point about the internet just now, I don't think the internet alone would have been enough. I do think that a festival like this is part of that improvement that you just mentioned, Peter, because coming together across borders from different perspectives, different understandings, different assumptions, and working on on the same or similar things just breeds creativity. It's like a petri dish for creativity, and that's why I come to the EJC, because there's so many different perspectives. In a similar way that you just said, 15 different languages, even more. I think we have like 50 different nationalities here easily, and it doesn't often happen that 50 different nationalities come together and actually do work together rather than just consume art. We do work together, and that's what I love.
Yeah, and that's probably why it is so successful, this festival, because now it is the biggest one. When it started, it was just 10 people around. And that was mostly people from America, because they were in Europe and they wanted to start in Europe festival. And at that time, mostly the jugglers were professional. Now you have a lot of people who just do it as a hobby. They don't work for, they don't need it for a living. So that's a bit of change. I'm not telling about every convention because we had too many. I've made a book a few years ago. So this is where every convention is in the booklet, and that's the last books I brought, the last 100 books what I still have. So you can have, if you're interested in it, one and for free, because they're already paid. So if you like one, you can have one. I'm have a job. I'm a teacher, so I don't need money. It is. So we go to the next. So I'm not talking about each like early special aspects. Like when it started, it was a IGA European Convention. Then they put names on it of jugglers. Like you see it here, Chico meeting for jugglers. And only when it was in Bradford, like the 11th one, they started to call it the European Juggling Convention. So the name is not as old as the festival. On the beginning, they made the show because they wanted to make the festival not so high with the price. So they make the show, everybody were performing, to get the price lower. Today it's other way. You have to pay more to get good shows because we want the good shows. And the first parade was in Copenhagen because they want, often the festival was in a small area, and then the people know, oh, there's a show, and there was selling the ticket. In Copenhagen, it was too big. So they needed public and show the public, oh, we are here, buy a ticket for the show. That's why they made the parade. Today it's more, for fun. This is the first time when there was intense. Because usually when there was a festival, they were sleeping private. Like in Frankfurt, there were 400 people, and they were all in private houses to sleep. That's how it was organizing. And the tents, it's a very late invention. Also with the badges, like this is handmade badges, because everybody want to have a nice gimmick to remember the festival. And then it changed a bit, like to different that we have today, which is stick to the body, because to make sure everybody had pay their entrance. So it's a bit a change of that. Also with a fence, we have now, I don't have extra. On the beginning you see it's open, there was no fence. It was in Italian, Turin, where they have first the fences, because it was in a bad area. And the people were afraid that the people, there was a lot of drug people, and they was afraid that they come and steal stuff out of the tent, so they put fences around the campsite to prevent that the stuff gets stolen. And that was why they make fences. And now we have always the fences around the camp, because it's not open that when it was. Yeah, okay. Also, when you make a small, like 200 people or 50 people, you can organize it private. You know most of the people, and you make it for friends. But if it gets bigger, you need an organization behind. And the first try was 85. They tried to make an organization, but it felt they wanted to make it like the International Juggling Association. So you are a member, you have to pay, you get a magazine, something like that. But that failed, and 2 years later, they make the Ensemble. There was more than 1,000 people, and they had a bit of money left. And how do you pass it over to the next convention? And how do you make sure that there will be a next convention when it gets bigger and bigger? And so there was a European Juggling Association were formed. And we do not have a European law. So we have it in Amsterdam as a stichting. And Lee Hayes was the one who were living in Amsterdam. So that's why we have an organization which is based in the Netherlands, because we do not have a European right for that. And every group who is organizing it has, I don't know if I have, yeah, like when a group is organizing it, it has to form our own organization. Yeah, that was general talk. Okay, status quo. You see the mistake at this picture, very easy. It's artificial intelligence. That's easy to find. But the problem today is when you have a text, you cannot see. It is written in a really, really proper way, not like my English. It is so beautiful written, and then you think, oh yes, I believe what's standing inside. But if you put, give me the history of juggling, there were so many mistakes inside. And people copy it and put it on their page or using it for their thesis at the university. And so we copy these mistakes every time. And I'm not sure what will be in 20, 30 years when we are not care about that, because then we have about 100 web pages where already printed with the mistakes, and the people, oh, there is a proof. It's on this page and this page and this page. But it is not proved, yeah. The next we can swip. Yeah, we also have a lot of people who have collections. We have a lot of people who doing about history stuff. But it's hard to get them together because, like in Germany, we have at the university theater history. You can study it in a different university, but you have nearly the same amount of circus and theater, but we don't have none where you can study theater theory, circus theory. So you cannot even can study it. So you can do, of course, I did my thesis at the university as well about juggling history, but I did it in history, not especially at circus. So that is something what should change. Most collections are private. People put their private, like I'm going to buy it by my money to get this stuff. But it should be that the government is buying the stuff and giving it for study reason. And so that's one step what I wish what could change. yeah, and so we don't have so much time, so we have to make it a bit short. So that's a question for the future. How will it be? Are you interested in history? Do you think it will to look at history, and what can we do to connect it or to changes in the society? Because like in Germany now circus is a national culture heritage, so we can get different money, but it is still circus theater, wow, but it was not around 1900 it was not like that. Circus was very popular, but they earned so much money, so they didn't care about that they have to pay tax, because they said, we have so much money. And the theater started to make campaigns against the circus because they had less visitors than the circus. So there were interesting aspects about that. But I do not want to go against the theater, but I want to have the circus maybe on the same level than theater and get money, and not like when you're in a circus you have to pay tax on every ticket. So that's interesting aspect. So I would like to open now the talk. What do you think, where we go to the future?
I just wanted to say, for those with an interest in circus history, that there is now a European Circus History Conference, which is a biannual event, and the next one will be in 2027 in Copenhagen. The previous one was in London. Details will shortly, in the next month, be up at circusconference.org. Thank you.
And there will be, I'm planning a book for 50 years European Juggling Convention. So if you want also to join, have an idea for that, so get in contact with me. That would be also good. Are there more questions, things to say?
I have a question about the history of juggling itself, and I think that there are in some cultures, like in Japan, or I know one country from Africa, they have the traditional juggling, but it's more like shower and not cascade. And have you ever thought about the differentiating cascade culture or like?
I know that when I was in Kenya, I met a very old woman, and she showed me how she juggled, and she was singing a song to that. And I gave her my juggling balls because she didn't have balls. And she said that at that time, when she was young, like 70 years, a lot of kids could juggle, and they did the shower. Yeah. And also in Germany, and it was usually a girls' game. They did the shower, or they did it to the wall and did the shower. And the cascade is more a juggler and not a playing balls.
Yeah. So do you know when cascade started? Yeah,
it's hard to say.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
Hi, thank you for your two talks. That was very interesting. I have a question for Jurgen, because we didn't have the chance to ask questions before. So you made up a parallel between queerness or queer history and juggling history in modern society, and you said there was progress, but still some steps to take. And I was just thinking if this is not too linear in putting it, because like when you think about queer history, we had the 20s where so much was possible, and then this was destroyed by National Socialism and everything went backwards. And we have, in a lot of European countries, we have a shift to the right at the moment, and other countries as well. So I was wondering how you look upon the history of circus and juggling and these shifts, if it's really that linear. And the other thing would be, because you were saying that, if I remember correctly, that there used to be a separation in circus between like various kinds of performers, but also the builders, and like a hierarchical society. And I was wondering, because if you look at circus now, there are so many different kinds, of course. You have the small family circus, you have Cirque du Soleil. And if it's really like that, that in modern circus institutions or traveling circus, there is not this hierarchy. I wonder if in Cirque du Soleil, the infrastructure toilet people are eating together with the artist manager. So I was just wondering, if you could say it like this, these two. I mean, it's two questions. I hope that's okay.
Okay, so coming back on your first question, I believe that where circus is going is often based on how much funding they get from the government. And how much funding they get from the government is very dependent on where the current government situates itself politically speaking. So if the government would be more conservative, that would mean less funding for arts and also less funding for circus. And that would mean that the circus would be harder to keep going when the government is more conservative. And I mean, this might be a very quick and dirty comparison, so to speak, but you can see the same in queerness, where a more conservative government would either put laws into place that prevent queer people from being themselves, or take laws out of the government law that protect queer people. So in that case, there is a certain parallel between where the government would be politically speaking and how both circus and queerness has the space to evolve. So I hope that answers the first question.
Yeah. I mean, that's what I was thinking, that it's not as linear and that we have to be careful to think that it's just a few steps to be made, and I think we have to watch out.
Yeah, true. Yeah. Good addition. And the second part I find a little bit difficult to really put an answer to, because there's, like you said, so many different types of circuses. I have worked in the past with smaller circuses and one or two times with bigger circuses. In smaller circuses, people would be, in my opinion, more closely together, because as a performer, maybe you need to build up with everyone. But I do think that, for instance, the very big circuses, you would have people who are really trained, whose job it is to build up, and then their job is done, and they would have absolutely nothing more to do unless the circus needs to be deconstructed again. So in that case, I can imagine that there is still that separation between workers and performers, but it doesn't really matter, because the workers often have a place to go.
And what would you say to the separation between different circuses, like circuses from Roma people versus circuses from, I don't know, traditional families?
I would say that it very much depends on the country where it originates from, and how the working conditions of that country and the social constructs in that country are put in place. Like people that are from very highly developed countries, they will have to take into account that the people that work for them need to be treated with a certain degree of, with a certain standard. And if the origin of the people, or how they were brought up, or in what country they live, did not put those values in their belief system, then you will see that those circuses all maybe would treat people worse than other circus. So I think it's a very complex answer to a small question. But thank you for asking.
So I want to have a big applause for Jurgen and Sonja.
And yes, so you probably have seen the General Assembly yesterday. If not, come to the next one next year. And I did not know that this was your 30th European Juggling Convention. So I would like to have to thank you very, very, very much for your involvement over the last 30 years. You are a staple in the European Juggling Association. I have personally benefited from your knowledge and history several times, and it is really, really incredibly valuable that you are around. So I just wanted to say a personal and general note of appreciation to you, Sonja, for being around so long. So thank you for the talk, and thank you for being around. And that's it.